And we're back with another head-to-head. I'm your host, Orpheus Black, and this is the man himself,
Pete all day, Wongway.
Pete all day Wongway. I love it. Now, I got to tell you, personally, you got me on this one. I already know that you have me on this head-to-head. I am at a serious disadvantage as I loathe MMA movies. Like I you know what I mean? I absolutely love loathe MMA movies. And you are an avid fight fan, avid martial arts fan. You're a movie fan. You span the genre. So tell me how easy this was for you, so I can just whine and complain about how difficult this was for me.
Well, so yeah, you're right. It was a little easy for me, but I think that what helped was the storytelling, like you were saying, like watching it from the overall movie perspective, but I have to agree with you. Like, as far as right now, MMA, mixed martial arts, for those of you that didn't know what that was, mixed martial arts films are still pretty lackluster, comparatively to the echelon of, traditional, whether it's Chinese, Japanese, even nowadays, the, Muay Thai, Salat, right? MMA is still, and yeah, so before we jump into our top 5 going head to head with each other, let's talk about like how we define, or how we came up with our top 5.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it was when I was deciding on my top 5, I think what was challenging was many things could be considered MMA.
Right.
So like going as not necessarily far back, but more like classic terms is like Enter the Dragon. Right? Like Bruce Lee, and that entire production was one of the first times that we saw a Eastern Western combination, but now has become, like even in Mortal Kombat, they have like a entire scenery of that where it's like a tournament. And you got like different people from different walks of life with different styles, different, martial arts styles, and they come in and they compete. So, but when we talked about doing MMA, I left that out. And then, there's a number of like we were talking about Tony Jaa, Ombak, Ombak 2, which if you watch our previous head-to-head, I think maybe it was the top fight scenes. I think we mentioned that one.
Right.
But Ombak 2, there's some great mixed martial arts in that. Amazing fight scene. And there's a movie that maybe we can talk about. Oh man, maybe we can talk about in the future. But a Jackie Chan movie that gets forgotten because it's not really a good movie because it was a American production. The Big Brawl.
Oh, I remember The Big Brawl.
Yeah,
I do remember that. Okay, so I think that MMA as a sport is so new that it really hasn't got the storylines that really can grab people like back in the days with Muhammad Ali and the fight. We see that same story with Ali and Mike Tyson. We see that same thing repeated with a number of actual boxers. So we can see like this theme that emerges that really is compelling and is really gripping. We haven't seen trends emerge with MMA fighters that really grab the overall populace. I think to me is a real problem, right? So as a sport, it's emerging, but as a heartfelt narrative that speaks to a broad base of people, we don't see that. It hasn't become the thing that we love so much that it's an American pastime. It's part of our lexicon, that we know a hero. Like we see somebody who everybody just crosses boundaries, crosses genders, that we can all embrace. So once that character emerges, I think there'll be an archetype that can really fuel movie stories. Now, I know people talk about, well, Conor McGregor is a great fighter, and Randy Couture, you know what I mean, are people who were really big luminaries. But truthfully, their stories are still in process. Like they haven't died, and other archetype, they haven't become the archetype for other people. So I think once we see an MMA archetype, we can build a story arc around it, and then we can it'll speak to a larger demographic of people. But till then, it's going to just be kind of a niche thing.
And like just some really cool fight scenes, maybe. Like I think the one thing that I can say about MMA is it really increased the spectrum with which you can fight with. I remember back in the days, the Cowboy movie where he'd load up and he just punched the guy. He'd stand there and the other guy would punch him. It was really stupid, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. And then maybe you get a couple cop flicks where, you know, like a Dirty Harry cop flick where, you know, it was just a real dirty fight where they're grabbing each other and falling on the ground and punching. But then you had the Chinese cinema where people were high wire arts actors and flying through the thing. So to me, MMA has the potential to be better than basic American fight scenes, but doesn't have to go into the mythology of Chinese movies, right? So it really has the potential to go really far. We see this in John Wick. We see this in some of the the Fast and Furious movies. We see this in Triple X. We are really starting to see fight scenes they span the gamut. People are not just stunt artists. They're really blending martial arts to make a better fight scene. So I think when we talk about MMA, what we're talking about is in this day and age is people who are blending martial arts into one contextualization that really helps perpetuate an action movie into another space, to another level. Yeah. I get what you're saying. And, the other thing, like, as what you said, it's like, there's a lot of action movies, like military, like I was even thinking like even Expendables, right?
Yeah.
Could be considered MMA, but it's got its own like flavor to it. So I really hope, as you're saying, as time furthers on, we do have more narratives and more stories, more hero journey stories. And because
that's what it is, right? It's a hero journey in action movie form, in sports, in a sports movie. But I think that we're not seeing a complete journey.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like we're not seeing the complete journey because we don't know where the complete journey is for an MMA fighter.
Yeah,
right?
It's true.
We don't know what happens to, because it's such a new genre of movie and such a new genre of sport. I mean, it was created within my lifetime. Mm-hmm. No, and you can think about it like this: how many sports have been created within your lifetime? Right? We are the people who your grandkids will be asking about fighters from back in the days as if they were Sugar Ray Robinson or if they were Joe Louis. You know what I mean? Like these people will be glorified, but we will see how these people lived and how they died. And then we see a completion of that hero's journey. And then we'll see a reemergence of those types of fighters. Right? But right now we don't have a type of MMA fighter. We don't have who the public loves, who the public loathes, who's going to be the because back in the days, you could just say Russian fighter. He was automatically the villain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But now you have so many Russian fighters that people love and hate. It's like that stereotype has been just blown away. You could say the Asian fighter, but we have not seen a dominant Asian fighter in an American mixed martial art arena, like maybe Kung Lee, maybe the Zombie, something like that. But we haven't seen a dominant fighter, so that illusion for a whole generation is gone.
Yeah.
So
another thing I just thought about was how MMA is growing. Like, you got the UFC, you got Bellator,
mm-hmm.
right? And then you have the one, and then you have other
Dream.
ones. Was it? Yeah.
It used to be Dream.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have other ones in other countries that maybe don't get as much information or publicized.
Right.
What's that one in Myanmar? Or I was watching the documentary and they kept on showing everyone like getting like the elbow to the head, all those. Yeah,
the Art of Nine Limbs, where they still do the headbutts and stuff.
Yes, like, so I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see,
But that's not mixed martial arts, by the way.
Not specifically?
No, it's not. It's the original form of Muay Thai.
Oh, okay. See?
Muay Thai is the art of 8 limbs, right? So when you add the 9th limb in there, which is the headbutts, it becomes something different. That's who in Bloodsport 2, when they put the glass in there on their knuckles, remember, and he did the thing? He was one of the fighters that did the old style with the headbutts.
Oh, you mean kickboxer with Van Damme?
Yeah, I'm sorry, kickboxer with Van Damme. Exactly.
Hanko, yeah.
No. Kickboxer, the big Thai guy.
Yeah.
And they they're putting they put glue on their hand wraps and they put the glass in there. That big because Tom Poe is the guy, the kind of buff Chinese guy. This is a big Taiwanese guy.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So that guy, the whole villainy kind of thing is that he did the headbutts, and they still, because it was dirty, and he does it the old way, and that's why Van Damme's character had to train like kind of an old fashioned method.
All right, so now I'm amped because I think I got some. I think my number one is really. I don't know if a lot of people have seen it, but I think it really sets the tone based on what we just talked about. But not a lot of people have seen it, I think. So, all right,
let's do it.
Let's do it. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, because you're going to destroy me, so let me just go first.
All right, well, thanks.
I'm going to go Bloodsport. Van Damme, my number 5. So I have to say, Bloodsport was the first DVD that I ever owned, and I have to say that I stole it. It was actually in a this was back in the days when the big video shops, the mom and pop video shops were open.
Yeah.
They used to return the videos through the mail slot. You just drop it in there. And this Bloodsport DVD was there, and I'm like, what is this? And I just took it and I ran home. And I popped in the DVD player. It was like, oh my God. Like Van Damme, Bloodsport. It was crazy. It was the ultimate martial arts movie at the time. I could have dealt without him showing his package the whole time, in every movie where he's doing the splits, or try to show his little narrow butt. But that movie was so good. And, you had so many martial arts styles in that. It was about the Kumite, and he was supposed to be about the first American who won the Kumite. And to be honest with you, Kumites do not look like that. they, by no stretch of the imagination, look like that, nor do I, to the best of my knowledge, allow interdisciplinary martial arts. So To the best of my knowledge, it's all karate. Different types of karate, but they're all karate. And so, like, one of my favorite scenes is it's weird because they had the black dude come in using monkey kung fu.
Yeah.
And he just gets destroyed. But I was like, it was just so interesting to see someone bring such an obscure martial art into the ring. You know what I mean? And it's like, I always like the animal styles. I always like the animal techniques. They're absolutely good. Of course, you know, Tanpo, you know, the main character, was an okay fight. It wasn't my type of fight. It was just, I don't like him as an actor. I don't like him as a martial artist. I forgot the guy's name. You know the guy, right?
Oh, Bolo
Young. Yeah, Bolo Young. I've never liked him when he was in Bruce Lee's movies. I've never liked him in any Hong Kong cinemas. I didn't like him in that movie, but that movie is flooded with so many different things. But yeah, I really like obscure martial arts representation. It's kind of weird to have a black dude doing the monkey style, but but I do love to see those animal martial arts. And that was the first time I saw an African-American doing one. So it was pretty cool to be able to see that happen in that space. So, you know, and again, I was a kid when it came out, and it was my favorite little scene to see somebody try something so abstract. And so, yeah, that was my one.
So it's very nostalgic for you.
Very nostalgic for me. I mean, dude, like, again, I watched that movie so many times. Like, I bisected that movie. Yes. And like, me and my friends used to come over to my house, and we would, you know, play martial art. I mean, blood sport.
Yeah.
It was just so crazy. And, you know, it's where we kind of fused our wrestling in with our martial arts. So in that way too, it was a way of us trying to create our own MMA prior to MMA, because we were wrestling and doing martial arts and then doing the moves that we saw in the movie.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're young, we're young, kind of stupid kids playing around, but as a person who did martial arts, even as a kid, it opened up some doors. It got me out of the frame of mind that only one style works.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I never had that thing. I always wanted to do multiple styles so that I could be as Yuri Boyka say, a more complete fighter. You know what I
mean? And that's coming up. Okay.
Right. Go ahead. What's yours?
This is really interesting. We're becoming more and more alike. My number 5 was Bloodsport. And you know, just to add to, you know, to what you already said, it's like, for me, it's very nostalgic. It's like, it was really hard for me to not put it on the list, because when I think of a movie that I saw that introduced me to a variety of martial arts, it definitely was Bloodsport. And I think, I think it was just the timing of it. And we also had parties. me and my buddies, shouts out to my buddies Sean Cannon and Nate Westover. Like, Sean Cannon to this day still recites Bloodsport lines. And like, sometimes on his Facebook, you'll see a Jean-Claude Van Damme meme out of nowhere. And but it's great, you know, like our friendship really grew, you know, starting with Bloodsport in a way. And but I think it's because there were a lot of scenes that were memorable. Like, I was looking it up. I was trying to remember which scenes that rang a bell. And there's so many. So, OK USA.
OK USA, yeah, exactly.
Right? Jackson, you look like a Jackson. Right?
You know, the thing is like they reach back into that martial arts, that Chinese martial arts genre when they do the break the brick, not the top brick, the middle brick, right?
Yeah.
Exploding palm technique.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The dim mock, right? And it's like that's a real, you know, whether it's a myth or whether it's truth, it's like you hear it in martial arts circles. So it's really neat how they they, you know, Hollywood or fictionalized movie, glamorized, you know, aspects of it, but then they made martial arts. They were able to share martial arts to a large audience, and then bringing in a new actor who, you know, had this, you know, what do they call them? Muscles from Brussels?
Yeah, the muscles from Brussels,
Right?
exactly.
And it's like, I mean, I became a fan of Jean-Claude Van Damme at that time, you know, not knowing much, but I was just a fan of him, you know.
Well,
And
at the time there was Steven Seagal,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
or Jean-Claude Van Damme. Those were the two biggest martial arts action movie stars at the time.
yeah.
You know, that were not Jackie Chan, to be honest with you. I mean, there wasn't a lot of variety out there. And so for me, I think you just kind of had to make the choice. Did you want to be a Van Damme fan, or did you want to be a Seagal fan? Like,
Yeah.
I was more of a Steven Seagal fan
Uh-huh.
of his movies in the very beginning.
Yeah.
You know, because he's quiet, kind of guy's guy. You know, he wasn't doing the splits and thongs and stuff. You know, because a lot of the Van Damme stuff was made for women. You know, was to attract the female audience. But for me, I'm like, you know, can you just skip this part, you know, and move all into all the other stuff? But
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing too that I think resonates with me for Bloodsport is where it takes place is Hong Kong, and so watching Hong Kong, that not a Chinese film, it helps resonate with me with my identity. So
right.
so I long to go there. I long to see it, and then to see the streets and to, you know, all that. It's still that's why it's nostalgic to me. But I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to get off the Bloodsport.
All right.
So number 4.
You know, my number 4 really should have been my number 5, bro.
Really?
Like, yeah, that movie, Blood and Bone. So bad. Like, Michael Jai White is not the best actor on the planet. You know what I mean? Like, he's Michael Jai White in an action movie. That's really it. He's like the Jack Nicholson of action movie. He's going to be the same character all the time. But there's a scene in Blood and Bone where there's two female MMA fighters who are fighting. And to me, it's one of the first depictions of women, you know, brawling in the same way that the guys do. And it's a really good scene. It's really brief. As a matter of fact, it's kind of filler, but it was one of the things that was not in the genre of what's expected. You know, it wasn't, you know, the guy who has to overcome this and that. It was a sub-narrative, but prior to that, we hadn't seen women do MMA.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it was Ronda Rousey. Actually, I don't even think Ronda Rousey had come out and done any movies at the time.
Not yet.
So for me, it really opened the American perspective, the male mind to women MMA fighters. You know, again, we have seen women kickboxers, but really not in cinema. We've seen them in the ring. So for me, that's one of the groundbreaking things that Blood and Bone did.
Oh, that's cool. I still need to see it, or I don't know. maybe just see that fight
or
scene.
Maybe not, you know, or just Google the fight scene, you know.
Oh man, that's great. Awesome. Right. Okay, so my number 4 is also something we previously had talked about in a previous episode. So my number 4 was Flashpoint with Donnie Yen. And
such a good movie.
Yeah. So it was our guy Donnie Yen, who at that time, this is pre-Ip Man, I believe. Yeah, pre-Ip Man, just before Ip Man, because it's the same director team that he ends up working with for Ip Man. But he did it. he showed ground fighting, he showed real punches, and it's just no holds bar, like some really great choreography, some even great cinematography.
Whoa. Let's not go too far. Let's not go too far. It is not great cinematography.
No,
this is not Titanic. This is not Apocalypse
not
Now.
Titanic. I'm saying this because I think the fight scene was enhanced because of all these things. Like, because of the cinematography, you were able to see things that, like Hong Kong cinema, I think they take more chances, like, for example, with the camera, like you get a shot that's like, something like that. And you don't see that a lot in other, whether it's Hollywood or, American productions.
Well, I will say this, that Hong Kong cinema, in my opinion, allows the fight scene to dictate how the movie is shot. I mean, how the fight scene is shot. Yeah. So I think that that's something that we see now, as far as how American movie fight scenes are being shot. Mm-hmm. I think we're seeing that a lot more. It's not like we're going to set up all the lighting and do this. It's like, no, let's see the fight scene. Yeah. And then let's choose the spots where we can best get the action best. And I think that is definitely something from Hong Kong cinema. I think it's something that Flashpoint definitely takes advantage of, because they take there's a lot of handheld in that one. Yeah. And I don't even feel like it's Steadicam handheld. I feel like it's like, handheld. Yeah. Stuff, because it added to the grittiness of the scene, especially when he would take somebody down. You would see somebody would run with him and then kind of drop the camera, you know what I mean? And it almost feels like the camera drops to the floor as he's landing, which was really good. And then it all stays in focus, like it's never out of focus. Yeah. Right. So I absolutely love that genre. Now I'm not gonna say it's the best cinematography on the planet, but I will say you feel a part of the movie because of how handheld it is. You feel like you're with him in almost every fight scene, with the exception of the nightclub. It feels like he's you're with him in every scene.
So I just want before we give yours, I want to. So originally, I'm not sure about this, but originally, I thought that the hits, because Donnie was saying they really wanted to show the hits, so they're filming the actual hits. Well, recently, I saw Scott Adkins, our guy Scott Adkins. Right. I saw him do a video where he watched that fight scene, and because he knows some behind the scenes, he said that they made a rubber fist. So I'm not sure. So when they throw that punch, I gotta rewatch it and kind of really be keen on that. But he said they made a rubber fist so they could really throw it. And you know how like they normally do like the kicks and they have like, someone's arm, so they reversed it. So I don't know.
Wait, but are you saying that they put the foot to the face and then reversed it?
They made a fake fist. Uh-huh. And then they used that and just swung that at the actor to make it look like a real fist hitting. I don't know. That's what Scott Adkins said. I mean, the actor is still getting hit in the face, right?
I mean, it's weird. Like, I mean, that was the thing that was one of the things that separated that movie for me, is the idea that Donnie Yen was actually taking punches to the face. And that the other actors were going so in on it. If they did that, then I'm going to – well, you know what? Here's the thing. Maybe if they used a rubber fist in the thing for the practices. Mm-hmm. Like, because you know how many times you have to – when we do a fight scene, you do that fight scene over and over and over and over again. So if you're really going for the hit – and you're getting hit with the, a fist over and over again, it's gonna put red on their cheeks. It's going to really damage their face over the course of the production. So maybe if they're doing the rubber fist in place of the actual punch, for practice, I could see that. But if they were on camera and it wasn't the real thing, I'm gonna feel really misled.
So we're gonna after this, we're gonna spend some time watching that fight scene.
Dude, I'm gonna be so upset, man. Oh, all right. I went the Protector.
The Protector. Okay.
Okay, because it's one guy fighting multiple styles. So we do see Tony Jaa.
The Tony Jaa.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Tony Jaa using all different forms of not just Muay Thai, but him having to adjust and use other things, and he's fighting multiple fighters. So in the same way we saw Bloodsport, you see in the Protector, and then I'm gonna go the Lateef Crowder scene where it's capoeira. Yeah, with all the water on the floor. It was like Muay Thai versus capoeira. And again, I like the scene because what you're seeing is Tony Jaa step his game up and not just use, I mean, it's predominantly kickboxing, but I feel like it may be a bit of a cop-out because there's so many other movies they could probably put in there. But that scene in that movie, I think we saw Tony Jaa explore the narrative of multiple martial arts. It wasn't just Muay Thai. It was a lot of different martial arts. And it's just a beautiful scene to watch.
It is. I think that's the first time we, or at least I think when I first saw that, I was like, oh, does he know Chinese Kung Fu too?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff in there. It looks like he's just wresting many martial arts into his Muay Thai stance. Like he always comes back to the Muay Thai stance.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And but he's using many different martial arts. And again, when we talk about cinematography, they've got the fire, they've got the water on the floor. So the kicks are coming up and all the stuff has got like the trail of water going through. It was really, really good. And that was also the first time I noticed Lateef Crowder as an actual. He was in a ton of other movies, but it was the first time I really noticed him as a martial artist. And he will come up again in another of my top 5. Yes.
Okay. Wow, that was a good one. I was not expecting that. Like that's great. Good.
Pivoted on you.
Yeah, you did. Oh, where'd he go? All right. Okay. So my number 3, it kind of hurts, but it kind of doesn't. Just because I gotta give this movie props. So my number 3, I'm gonna get like laughs. I think. Never Back Down. Ooh, okay.
Never Back Down.
Okay. So here's my reasoning. So so there's many sequels later, like 2 or 3 with Michael Jai White, and just to put out there, I have not seen those yet because I wanted to start with the first one. So I watched the first one not too long ago, and I saw it as a modern Karate Kid.
And wait. What is this one again? Never Back Down?
Never Back Down.
All right. I'm looking this up right now because I'm not familiar with this movie.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna continue talking, but while you look. All right. So in my opinion, it falls into a lot of what I like to call high school movie stuff. And that includes parties with lots of kids doing things like drinking, kissing in the pool, and for some reason, a circle, not a dance circle, but a fight circle. Okay. There's lots of montages. Montage is a series of scenes put together, lots of them with overlay of music. And then cheesy looks and glares, okay? So there's all those things, so you got to be okay with that. But it really shows MMA as a part of life. And I really like that because it updated. Like I said, Karate Kid was like 80s, and I think Never Back Down was like a newer thing. Again, it's not the easiest of movies to watch the whole thing, but there's a lot of aspects I like. The fight scenes, I actually think were really intuitive as far as really showing the different kinds of jiu-jitsu, whether, BJJ combinations. They even do a lot of stand-up, which was really cool. And I don't know who the actors are, but I don't know if they're, about their background, but I thought it was pretty legit. And then two more things. So they have, I apologize if I get his name wrong, Dijun, Demon.
Yeah, you're killing it. He's a great actor, by the way.
He is. He's fantastic. How do I say?
Great actor.
I totally didn't get his name. But from Amistad and from as recently as Constantine, as recently as so many movies. Blockbuster actor. He plays the coach, and amazing. He's still amazing in this. Like, Academy acting. And then Evan Peters, the kid from American Horror Story, and now who we know as Quicksilver in the X-Men movies.
Yeah.
He's in this movie, and he's doing martial arts. And he's got this great personality that really fits with the story, and I think it's needed. And so it's one of those movies where I recommend it to people to watch, and then, hopefully you like it. But if I didn't put it on my list, then I feel like I'd be not being honest with myself. There you go.
I'm gonna say this.
Never back down.
Jamon Houseman.
Oh, Jamon.
So I'm just gonna say that guy as an actor is one of my favorites. My wife has a huge crush on him, and it is just he's such a good actor. And I'm gonna watch it because it's got like the three components of a bad action movie: hot women, action, right, and enough story. Just enough story. That's really it. See, an action movie is like a miniskirt, right? Long enough to cover the subject, short enough to keep you interested. That's really what it is. It's really what it is, right? So this movie, I went to look at it while you were talking. I hit the trailer, which shows you how long you talk, by the way. Okay. And it is Karate Kid for MMA. I mean, that's literally what it is. They even got the antagonist is blonde hair. Has blonde hair.
Yeah.
But to me, just watching the trailer, what it said to me is how MMA has revolutionized fighting for the average kid, right? Where you could maybe know some karate or some kung fu and be able to defend yourself. Now, if you can't stop takedowns, if you can't, you don't know how to bob and weave, how to check a knee, how to, leg kick, you're pretty much screwed, if you're a kid, because people are watching these high school movies with action movies, and they're like, oh man, I need to know some of this so that I don't get beat up at school. So jits, boxing, kickboxing, as MMA platforms have really, really changed the average kid's life. So I think Ralph Macchio and that whole cast would have got their butt whooped by these kids. Like,
yeah,
for real. And again, I don't like this whole. I think we play into the trope of kids with money have no morality, right? Because it is a stereotype. It is what it is, and that kids with no money, especially if you're a white kid with no money, you have all the morality and all the work ethic and all these other things that the rich kids don't. So I think we need to get out of that. Because if you're doing MMA, you're doing the work. You got to do the takedowns. You got to do this. No amount of money is going to privilege is going to get you out of the ring without you doing the work, right? So if you're a poor kid and you want to do MMA, your shot is just as good as some rich kid who wants to do MMA. It is the great equalizer. There's no teacher that's better than any other teacher. It's all about work ethic. So to me, I want to see more movies that really go into this idea of, the fighter's life, like what really drove them to be in this place, not because they want to be they don't want to get beat up in front of all the other kids or because their ego got bruised or something like that. So hopefully these movies mature a little bit as we go on.
Yeah, that's great. That's great input.
I'm going Flashpoint, right? Very last scene where he fights the big guy, you know, where he fights the main dude. That is such a good. They tear that little shack or whatever up, dude. I just love Donnie Yen's, you know, takedowns, his ground and pound, you know, his transition to arm bars. I mean, he made jujitsu where it's usually something passive, where someone, they either start on their knees or fall onto their backs or pull guard, where it's a passive martial art where people act on you and you use their strength against them in kind of a traditional arts fashion. And he is leading with it. He's attacking with the ground and pound. He's attacking with the takedowns. He's attacking with the arm bars. Like, he took it and flipped it and made it a Chinese art form the way he does it to me. You know what I mean? Like, he is not tying up and then pulling a 50-50 guard, like, you know, and just going in there. You know, he's not just using his wrestling. I mean, he's leading with jits moves. Yeah. And so to me, it was exciting to see his new use of this martial art in this way. Because again, if you're not a jiu-jitsu fan, it's not very exciting to watch just two people do jits.
Yeah.
Right? And the way people use jits, like we'll see in John Wick, is it's kind of a last resort kind of thing that you go to. Like, you jumped on somebody, you shoot a couple people, you fall, and now you use your jits because you've fallen onto the ground. He's taking people down to the ground. He's knocking people to the ground. He's throwing jits moves onto them, and as they fall, he's doing it. I mean, that movie in and of itself really, really ramped up my excitement for the evolution of how jits is done. And I mean, we're not seeing people use it in the same way. Like, you see Russian fighters doing Sambo. I'd say it was kind of like a blend between Sambo and jiu-jitsu. So for me, I'm like, I love Sambo. I love jiu-jitsu. I love the haymakers, you know, the no skill, you know, throwing these big haymakers. And, you know, to be honest with you, it fits the narrative because most jits guys don't have a good striking game. They focus so much on takedowns and being on the ground and being on the floor that their stand-up is lacking. And that shows in the way they portray the character, because he's just some gritty cop who is supposed to have just learned, you know, really good at fighting, at like dirty fighting, specifically wrestling and being on the ground. So for me, it was a really just highlight moment for watching him. He really came into his own. I just gotta say, like, when you watch him just as a whole, I just want to say Donnie Yen. Watch it from that breakdance movie that he did when he was a kid.
yeah.
Like breakdance, martial arts, whatever it was, to Ip Man, to Flashpoint. You just really see a progression of him as an actor and as a stuntman and as a martial artist. And so, yeah, I watched the behind it, and please watch the behind the scenes of that, where you see him training. So stay and watch, because they do play it at the end of the movie, I believe, in most cases. Watch him actually train. Watch him actually do the stunts. Watch him actually go in and see how they do it. And then watch a regular jits tournament and see how different jiu-jitsu is, especially sports jiu-jitsu or hybrid jiu-jitsu like Abu Dhabi or something like that, and see the difference between how he did it and how it's usually done. And you'll see, wow, he really brought something to it.
I was just thinking about it, like when you're saying it's he's throwing those strikes when he's doing the moves, you know, and we talk a lot about that. You know, there's people who do jits for the sports, there's people who do jits for the culture and the tradition. And then there's, you know, how do you really apply this in a situation to put that person, you know, in an uncomfortable position, or you know, in a, you know, where a position where you have more success. And yeah, that's good points.
Dude, he's a machine. He's a machine. And again, do yourself a favor, if you've never seen Sambo done at the highest levels, you're not going to see how Sambo is kind of like judo meets jiu-jitsu simultaneously. It was like the first combat judo. Like, it was like taken to a high level where this is what Russian military use on a regular basis. It's, grab the guy, take him to the ground, slam him to the ground, finish him. It's kind of like what you see him do. So, I mean, it's more like Sambo with jits.
Okay. Yeah.
So I absolutely love it. I think it's one of the best movies he's done, and definitely one of the most exciting movies he's done.
Yeah. My number 2 is Warrior. Yeah. Okay, so what's interesting about about Warrior, and you touched on it before we started, is it's not really about the choreography. It's not really about the fight scenes. It's really about the story, which, like, as we first discussed in our introduction, that's kind of hard to find a good story in MMA, and this movie keeps popping up. But I sat down and I watched it, and I was very moved by it, and I wasn't sure, so I had to do some research and kind of dissect it, get some help dissecting it. And so what's great about this film is that I feel like it shows a lot of things that martial arts in general, but mixed martial arts, it's a form of expression.
Right.
And so, and especially for men, I'll just be, specific. For men, it's a way to express, it's a way to be vulnerable, to explore these things that we might not ever have an outlet for. And so these characters, a father played by Nick Nolte, 2 brothers, Tom Hardy and Joe, I can't remember the other guy's name. But it's really about them wanting to move forward in life, and either for themselves or their family, but how they have to work through these things, or whether or not they choose to work through these things. So it's rare. I feel like it's rare to find a movie like that where it encompasses real emotion, real characters going through stuff, and then using MMA as the backdrop. So we just did the video on Rocky, and a lot of people compare it to it. They say it's the Rocky for MMA. So, and I gotta admit, I really enjoyed the film. I don't know if it's a film I can watch often, but I think it's an important film. So maybe that's probably why it's on people's top lists a lot of times.
I think that they was it Greg Jackson or Winklejohn that they patterned the coach after? Do you remember?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm familiar with those guys actually.
They are like I think it's Mike Winklejohn and Greg Jackson. They actually have a gym called Jackson Winklejohn Gym. And one is the coach for, I forgot his name, from MMA. The guy gets in all the trouble all the time.
Connor?
No, the black guy that keeps getting busted for drugs.
Oh.
Whatever.
Yeah,
exactly. Right.
Bones?
Yeah, John Bones Jones. His coach. But the point is like they patterned a lot of the philosophy, the coach's philosophy, after their philosophies. I believe it's Greg Jackson, to be honest. This really kind of Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of philosophical treatise about what fighting is, and fighting being compared to music. Whereas like when I'm teaching, I'm talking more about doing a conversation between people. Yeah. You know what I mean? He does it as music notes, and how the fight goes and slowly builds and builds and builds and crescendos, and then is guided down into this other place. So he has lots of kind of philosophies that influence the movie. So there's a small documentary I believe it's on ESPN right now that you can watch that really talks about his beliefs and how he influenced it. And he was like, I kind of saying, I didn't want to do a movie, you know, and they're like, well, you don't have to be in it. You just have to help us learn how to coach, you know, and help us learn how to guide the characters. And, you know, and from what I understand, it turned out pretty good. I've never seen the movie, but he's the ideologies of a coach, kind of sage wisdom, is something that you don't normally see in MMA that does exist. You know, it exists in traditional martial arts, and he's infusing that. Both Winklejohn and Greg Jackson bring that philosophical perspective, that spiritual perspective, that it's more than the fight, it's more than the training mentality into what we see. So I'm very, very, very happy to that they made the movie, and I'm actually going to watch it sometime soon. But for me, that was the most interesting aspect of it, was the interview of the character. Not just like, we're going to come to your gym and we're not just going to work out and we're not going to just do this, but how do we make this as real as possible? What is the fighter thinking? How would the person coach? So on and so forth. You know, like he's the man in that. They asked the right person.
Wow, that's great. I'm looking forward to checking that out.
Yeah.
You know, the music that they select from frame one, I think ties in with what you just said. So that's interesting. I hope you enjoy it. Tell me. We'll talk after you watch Never Back Down and Warrior.
Yeah, Never Back Down is going to be like something I'm going to watch like with my cell phone in my hand, like watch, scroll, just doom scrolling and watching freaking Never Back Down.
As you're doing 50 other things.
Exactly. Doom scrolling is my new thing. I just found out about that, and yes, it's my thing. Man. There is no, look at me, people. There is no fighter, no martial artist right now that brings a character to life like Scott Adkins, Yuri Boyka. I can't say, look, I had to have filler. All these other things had to be filler for me, okay? Because he is such a good character. The fight scenes are so amazing. It is the best of Hong Kong cinema meets like gritty boxing, dirty, hairy movie. And it's like, I just cannot say enough about everything that happens with regards to Yuri Boyka. That being said, let me just, there's a scene between Yuri Boyka and Lateef Crowder in Undisputed 3, I believe it is. And man, it's just so amazing. It's so phenomenal to see a capoeirista against a MMA fighter who has perfected the art, who is effective not only in the ground but in the air. Someone who can kick and punch, and I mean, it's like, what it did was it created a prototype martial artist that everybody ripped off of. Everything that you see people do now, like all the special moves, it was just thrown in. There's nothing that anyone did in any movie that you will see after that he didn't cover in this movie. Man. I mean, he's doing the spins, the flips. He's doing flares. I mean, he's doing ground and pound. He's doing arm bars, Superman punches. I mean, back to back to back to back flips. He's flipping onto his back and doing kicking up onto his feet like homages to Bruce Lee and that old breed of traditional Chinese martial arts. He's doing the big poses. You know what I mean? He touches everything in this movie. But I will say this. One of the things that makes it really, really exciting is the fact that he looks like he's a big guy. He looks like in that film, like he's like 6 foot, like 200 pounds, and he's defying gravity. And really, Scott Adkins is actually a pretty little. Well, we're about the same height, but he's actually a thin guy. You know, it's the way they shoot it. It's the way that the camera adds pounds onto the person that makes him look bigger than what he is. So I'll say that bit of camera magic is something that he brings to that he can bring to the set. But my God, there's just so much that I can say about his fight scene with Lateef Crowder, because Lateef Crowder, if you don't understand capoeira, it's very unpredictable. You know, it's rooted in it comes from Brazil, and it was brought there created there by African slaves as a way of kind of hiding their fighting style within the frame of dance. And they built it as dance, they built it as a game so that the even plantation owners at the time would allow them to do it. So it had to be unpredictable. There's no set form. Everything is constantly in motion. So put the choreography in with that is very difficult because it's really easy to get hurt. You know, because if you misread the punch or you don't do the choreo right, a person can get a heel kick right into your face, or, you know, you can catch a knee inadvertently, or even some of the sweeps can hyperextend joints or limbs. So it's so unorthodox. If you're not familiar with it or you're not really good at the choreography, something bad can happen. So I'm just going to say Yuri Boyka. I'm just going to throw that scene out there, but every scene Boyka is in is just amazing. So there you go.
So for everyone, if you don't know, look it up, and there's so many YouTube clips, right?
Yeah.
That's great. So that same interview that I saw with Scott Adkins, he said that like he himself, he seems like a really cool dude. I don't know. But he seemed very modest and very humble. He was like, because he like looked at himself and he wasn't as big in the interview like he was. And he said, yeah, he looked at himself. He's like, yeah, I had to get big because they wanted me to fight Michael Jai White. And he's like, I'm supposed to beat up that guy. So he's like, I better get big. So he had to get bigger.
Yeah.
Right? And then what he said was it's so funny how he talks. He's like
with the English accent.
Yeah. He's like with all that weight, he was like, it was harder to jump and do all that stuff in the air, right? And it's just like, you know, we look at it and it's like amazing, death-defying, you know, human body. Like the human body can do that, you know, and that is amazing to see and witness. And then for the guy that does it to be like, you know, like it because you know he worked at it, you know he built, you know, he worked so hard, those muscles and the training and his traditional training, whatever. But for him to just say, like, yeah, it's harder with more weight, you know, it's just like, that's great. I hope that there's more. You know what would be great is if there's more stories with him, but written better.
Right. You know, in all his, you know, I'm like, he's a bad actor. Like he's not a good actor, but you're not getting him for the acting. You know what I mean? And his best role is Yuri Boyka. Like he is Yuri Boyka. Like you know, you don't see Scott Adkins like I do in many of his other movies. You see a Russian fighter who I didn't even know was Scott Adkins at first. When I first watched it, I had no idea it was Scott Adkins. You know, the accent was on point. Not that I know many Russians. You know, the weight, the musculature, the moves, the skill set. I was like, wow, who is this actor? And I looked it up as Scott Adkins, and my mind was like, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that this man was able to put on this weight and do these things. So, you know, for me, it's an amazing movie. I mean, there's a scene where they're throwing super fast. I mean, super fast. And he's, you know, bobs, weaves, pivots, basic boxing stuff. But I haven't seen boxers in movies do it this well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, something as simple as like Bob Weave step pivot, and I mean throwing full speed. I mean, if he would have missed any of those things, that set would have wrapped. You know what I mean? Like there would be no way that he would be able to continue. So, I mean, just the basics of boxing he had, like some of the basics of like XMA, which is an underrated martial art for movies, extreme martial arts. Shout out to Sonny Sison, who was a major component in that. Just having that whole skill set down, being able to do the Taekwondo, being able to do the Harangdo, being able to do the Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, he blended it all together in one seamless contextualization like you've never, ever seen before. So I love it. Everything, I'm just going to tell you now, everything else for me is going to be Yuri Boyka. Like, we don't even have to go into the movies. You can just Google Yuri Boyka and see the best fight scenes you've ever seen in your life.
So how much do you think that character was I see a lot of Zangief from Street Fighter.
Now that you say it, I see it.
Right? The aerial stuff. Although they probably don't do the
power bomb, yeah.
That would have been cool, but very dangerous.
Oh no, what was it? Was it Power Driver? Yeah, Power Driver. Dude, I think that you're right. I think a lot of that fighter was kind of the attitude was a little Zangief, yes. So, but the thing is, the fact that Yuri Boyka speaks English but not English well really played in the favor of Scott Adkins as an actor, because Scott Adkins can emote, but he doesn't have a great acting range, right? He can play hurt and he can throw the emotions, because as a stunt man, as a coordinator, as an action star, you got to be able to play those hits up, So he does emote very well, and I think that like it's like every time somebody gets hit and they get you, or like how Bruce Lee, like that type of thing. Like you get the close up on so show him the pain, show him that you're not going to take it anymore. Like now the fight begins kind of mentality. So he does that very well. And because again, the character doesn't speak English very well, it really plays in his favor. So he gets to use his emotions to carry him through the bulk of the movie.
There's a film on Netflix right now that it's on my queue, but I just can't get myself yet to watch it. It's called Avengement.
Avengement?
Avengement. And it's Scott Adkins. And everyone, like not everyone, but like a lot of reviews that I was checking out, they said that this is a very good piece for Scott Adkins to show off his acting. Like
is that the one with the where he's like in Vietnam or goes to something like that? He's like in a war scene or something like that?
No, that one I think is Savage Dog. Avengement is like a new one, and he there's some scenes in jail, but they say that it's they really test his drama chops. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out eventually, and we can talk about it.
He's a specialist, man. He does one thing very well, and I appreciate him for it. So if you're watching Scott Adkins for the acting chops,
yeah,
there's 50 million other actors you'd want to see. If you want to see a guy who can carry a scene from fight scene to fight scene, then Scott Adkins can do it.
Yeah. Oh, and he was also in Ip Man 4.
Yes.
With Donnie.
Yeah, wasn't he the Twister?
No, he's the sergeant, the military sergeant guy.
Is that him?
That's him.
Again, dude. Okay. He learned how to act a little better than I thought he did. Scott Adkins, if you're watching this, first of all, I'm honored. Thank you. But your chops definitely increased for sure. Like you raised the bar in Ip Man 4 because I had no idea that was you.
Yeah, and we want more behind the scenes information on Yuri Boyka.
Please, thank you.
All right, my number one.
Tell me,
have you seen this movie? Red Belt.
Oh, That's a horrible movie.
What? What?
That's all. I wish I could scrub that from my mind.
Why? Wait. All right.
Go ahead, do your thing.
Okay.
Because I'm going to tear this one apart.
Oh, wow. See, this is what's fun. This is what's fun about head to head. What is that? What is that?
It's toast because it's early and I haven't eaten breakfast. I need to keep my.
So this guy here, ever since we've been in quarantine, he's like eating. He's already a king, but now he's eating like if a king were to eat more than a king. Yeah, check out his Facebook, check out his Instagram. He's got some cool. I saw that salad last night. Damn. Okay.
Man, you know what?
The pecans were speaking to me, I think.
Hey, those were fresh made candy pecans, by the way.
What?
Yes. Right. We need the Orpheus Black cooking channel, and it's going to be all my wife.
I'm there. So what's great about head to head is that I think in the beginning we tell each other what we chose, but I think it's fun to not know.
Right.
Because I was not expecting this reaction from you. I thought you were going to love it. But anyways, all good. I'm sticking to my guns. All right. So Red Belt. I love this movie. I cannot. Okay. It's not like the best movie, but for me, as far as mixed martial arts, as far as martial arts, modern perspective of martial arts, I really like it. I see it as a story about a modern day warrior, and the director even says he wanted to make a modern day samurai warrior film. And you got some. So the first scene, I'll just say the first scene. It's a scene in the gym. Two guys are training, and their coach, the main character, is talking them through. And some of the lines that he says are, I'll just give you an example. Let's see. Who imposes the terms of the battle imposes the terms of the peace. Improve the situation. A man distracted is a man defeated. So there's some lines in there that really, I think, are hard to find in movies. Like, because when you hear it, it is kind of cheesy, but that's the kind of stuff when we're training. I think that's the stuff that helps me get to a place that normally, is difficult. And I think, martial arts, the spiritual aspect of it, as well as the physical, the mental, how that all works itself. So what I love about this film is that it shows a modern day martial artist going through his life and having to choose and pick his battles and still continuing with his practice, but finding ways to overcome his obstacles and all the things, relationships, your students, your girlfriend, society, these different things, commercialism, all these things, into one movie written and directed by David Mamet, who's an Oscar-nominated writer, director, and the actor also Oscar-nominated. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for contributing that. You can still see me, right? My video didn't cut off?
Yeah, I see you. Yep, I hear you and see you.
Okay. So, one of the things that I'm going to say that I didn't like about it is there's a lot of rewritten works. Okay. Like the quote that you used is a Winston play on a Winston Churchill line where history is told by the victors. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, history is written by the victors. I'm like, dude, they just rewrote a lot of basic philosophy. And I was like, there was nothing to me that was new that they brought up. It was just a retelling of basic, sound bites from different great men or, throughout history. So for me, it was like, yeah, dude, this is a ripoff. Like you're plagiarizing your whole thing. And again, I understand that lots of martial arts instructors have a slew of quotes that they're designed to inspire their students and designed to inspire others, and that's great. But to me, it's like it wasn't as original as I wanted it to be. You know what I mean? And so I do like the fact that for other people who may not be like a philosophy nerd like me, or, really into history and the history of combat in general, then you'll love it, if you're looking for that type of thing. But if you're a history buff, if you're a philosophy nerd, if you're, especially as it comes to war and peace and combat narratives, then it might be a little lackluster. I was like, because I know that quote. I'm like, bam, let me just look it up, make sure I got the right quote on there.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. That's a good point. Huh.
Again, I think every good coach should have some motivating quotes from great men to inspire their men to greatness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you got to also give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like provide context. It should operate within the context of everything. Like people quote Mike Tyson all the time about everybody got a plan until they get hit in the face.
Yep. Classic.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a classic line. Like that's modern day wisdom. Somebody took that soundbite and made it a classic. Now apply it, but don't rewrite it.
Yeah.
Don't rewrite that line. Use the line because there's power in that line because it references a great fighter.
Yeah.
And regardless of how we feel about Winston Churchill, racist, bigot, elitist, snob, even his family hated him at the time. When it came to fighting that fight, he was a bulldog in the ring when he was leading England. So I think it references a great man. So you do your clients, you do your people a disservice when you detach it from the great man.
Yeah.
Just good. My thoughts.
Hey, yeah, no, it's good stuff, man. I don't know. I feel like it was kind of a tie, this one. I think you surprised me with the Tony Jaa one, right? But then I think you ripped off a couple from me. Maybe. But again,
I don't think I ripped it off. I just didn't know what the parameters were when we were actually doing this thing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What are the parameters by which we're calling MMA? Because it's mixed martial arts, so we're mixing it up, meaning two opponents fighting different styles. Is that mixed martial arts, or is it just the fighter is using different martial arts, right? I mean, because if you look at Tony Jaa, not Tony Jaa, the Flashpoint movie.
Oh, Donnie.
The Donnie Yen movie.
Yeah.
Most of the people he's fighting don't know martial arts. He's using it on regular people. Technically, these are just guys tough guys, in the movie. So is that a mixed martial art movie? I don't know,
Who get beat up by the
Exactly. You know what? You know how you have what's the movie The Expendables?
Yeah.
Before they had The Expendables, Jackie Chan used to talk about the uninsurables.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He would say in China, you have to have insurance. In America, you have to have insurance to do a movie.
Uh-huh.
And he said first person who can't be insured in America, Jackie Chan. Second people who can't be insured, Jackie Chan's stunt team. Third person, Michelle Yeoh.
Whoa, wow. Yeah.
Right. Which is why you don't see any of those people doing movies in America.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right. Usually when they're shooting with unless it's an American production, very few people actually come here and do it because they can't get insurance. Right. So they're uninsurables. But the thing is what we're seeing from all of these people are people who are doing pushing the boundaries of fight choreography, which I love. They're pushing the boundaries of martial arts. They're pushing the perceptions of martial arts and martial artists. But we're not going to see good, really, really great martial arts movies in America until we change how we shoot it, change how we insure it. The whole industry around it has to change.
Yeah.
Like we can't blow up a whole apartment building like Jackie Chan did. Did you see that thing where they actually blew up an apartment building? Right.
I when I first got into martial arts and movies, I was everything about Jackie Chan. I kind of stalked or not, hunt down.
Right. I mean, in China, because there's so low regulation, he was like, we'll just blow up the building. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to ask for a permit or permission because it would take too long. So we'll blow it up and deal with the consequences after. Like, that's the type of guerrilla technique. Like, I wouldn't want to be in a building that got blew up. You know what I mean? But the point is like they are pushing it. They're in a real mall, breaking real glass, jumping off of real buildings, on real streets, you know what I mean? And so for me, it's so important not to deregulate an industry because it's there for the protection of the actors and the stuntmen, but to change how we view it, because with the limitations that we have, we can't push the envelope to compete in this area, in this genre of movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you sign up for a Jackie Chan movie, you're signing up for, more than just your typical like job.
Yeah, exactly.
And they all know it, they all know it, like, what they're getting, out of it too. So I wanted to also bring up, like we didn't talk about the new wave, the Indonesian films, the Salat films. It's like, are some of the newer ones that those teams are making, could those be considered mixed martial arts? Because it's like I don't think it's just Salat. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to tell. So
yeah, I mean, because you got these smaller Malay, Burma, Indonesia, Philippines, like Southern Philippines martial arts. We don't know what the whole spectrum of those arts are, so we can't tell if they're actually mixed martial arts, if they're borrowing from different places. I mean, if you're doing fight choreography, you're definitely borrowing.
Yeah.
But to what extent are they borrowing? Like, how much of a divergence from your martial art is this to be considered mixed martial arts?
Yeah.
So this was a very difficult topic to do.
Yeah. Okay, so I had an honorable mention.
Go for it.
I almost forgot. Here Comes the Boom with Kevin James. I'm not going to really talk too much about it because it's been a while since I watched the movie, but the fact... Why? Because it's a comedy, right? And all comedies since I was a little kid, whether it's romantic comedy, action comedy, they never, I mean, for him to make a movie and put MMA at the like, it's all about this character that is going to learn MMA to help his kids, so it's a story with heart as well. But he really brought it, I think. And I forget which MMA fighter, well, there's a few of them in there, UFC fighters, but it's just really fun to watch, I think. And I think it's important that we see more stories like that, like get it out there more so people can get exposed to this type of thing out there, and then get people signing up and learning. Yeah, that's it.
No, I you know what? For once you said it, I got it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a good gateway into MMA fight movies. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It does have a story. It does have some good acting. It does have some luminaries in the movie, UFC luminaries in the movie. There's some okay action for a comedy. There's some good stuff in there. So yeah, I can see this, you know, being a thing. So I think it was a good act. I think it was a good act
too. Oh, good act. Huh? Oh, and it has Salma Hayek.
Yeah, anytime you can work Salma Hayek into a thing, yeah, that works. You know, but I mean, Kevin James also, he's a good comedic actor. I wish he got more work, you know what I mean? Because, you know, I love pretty much all his movies. I love I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. It's really a good movie with a lot of heart, and he's a very physical comedian. You know, he was in Hitch was another one, right? And again, he's just so physical, even when he's doing the dance moves, you know what I mean? Like, he's a really good actor. So anybody, especially if like it's a family time, like you want to watch a guy movie with your son, or, you know, a Father Sunday, or maybe a family gets to they'll choose the movie. Like, I know friends who have, like, the kid gets to choose, and the wife, then the husband, or whatever. This is a great way for a husband to watch a sports movie with a family, and there's something for everybody.
Yeah. Awesome. I think that wraps it up for this episode.
You think it wraps it up for this? Okay, let's do it, man.
I think we're good. So, all right. Well, thanks for joining Head to Head, and we'll be back. We'll be back for our next episode. We're not sure what our topic is, but we'll have plentiful to talk about. All right. This is Pete Wongway.
It's your man Orpheus Black.
We'll catch you next time, Head to Head.
You must be crazy. He good.